Hi, I'm Brett.
And I'm Mel.
And we're the Vinyl Hunters. Every weekend we go out and about and search high and low for those lost vinyl
and
shellac treasures that have ended up in basements and garages, eventually finding their way to yard sales, estate sales, and flea markets all across the country.
Basically, anywhere there are crates to dig, we're there.
This is our first attempt at showing everyone what we do, and I'm sure it will be familiar to a lot of you fellow crate diggers. We promise that production will get better in the future and hope you enjoy our first episode.
Thanks for watching and happy hunting.
Alright, we got a couple of sales we're going to hit, and we're going to hit a couple of flea markets, see what's out there. Are you ready?
I'm ready.
Good morning. Thank you for stopping. What the hell? Come on in, we got this floor in the lower level.
Okay.
Through the kitchen.
A little trouble.
Goodwill just for the heck of it.
$150. Would you like to round it up to 2 to help the homeless and the wounded veterans? You know what? You don't need it. You want to put it in the bag? Hang on, I'll get it. Okay.
Every single thrift store. Restore across the street from Goodwill. You good 78s?
Yeah, actually there are. There's a couple of them. This is great. Sweet. Man, this is like the day of Brunswick.
So after the estate sale and the thrift stores we hit a yard sale. Initially it didn't look like they had any records, but I asked, and you always ask. And I didn't film it because we ended up going down in their basement and had to dig through a bunch of boxes to get to an old cedar chest that had all the records in it. And there were a few hundred LPs, and I grabbed about 50. So we'll see what we got. Hendrix. I'd been looking for this one for a while, and after we saw it here, Went to a flea market and one of the more expensive dealers had it on the wall for $45. That's not a butcher as far as I can tell. Eden's Cream. I'd never seen this one. I just really like the cover. Somehow I've never owned this before. You know, I've never seen that comp before. Love that cover. Here's the hype sticker. I don't have one like that. JB. Traffic. Bootleg. CSNY. White Album. That one's a little bit pricey. Good find. Sonara, the guy I bought this from actually went to high school with this guy here in the picture, which is why he has the record. Thought that was kind of a cool little story. And that's it. First good LP find of the year, so there's more to come. So in addition to the LPs, the same folks gave us, threw in some 45s that I picked out. This 4x4 7-inch EP from the Beatles, pretty good find. Music Machine, a couple of Crow 45s, and Spirit. In addition to that stuff, we also found a bunch of 78s. So you want to talk about the 78s that you found?
Sure. So today I did get a Columbia 15,000 series Riley Puckett, which is always a good find. They've got some really good banjo, actually not banjo, but fiddle and early guitar accompaniment. We've also got some Brunswick. These are the yellow, actually the gold and black series. I tend to look for the 3500 to 4000 series. I like those. Those tend to be a little bit harder to find. So we've got an Eddie Thomas. Also got an Abe Lyman California Orchestra. So this is orchestral, but again, it's a little bit harder to find. These haven't been cleaned up yet. This is something that I like to collect personally. This is kind of silly, but I like to get Bird 78s. So that's not really something special, but it's something niche for me. Also the Nick Lucas, which is voice and guitar. It's sort of a string trio. I do enjoy a Hoagie Carmichael. This isn't really hard to find, but it's again sort of a fun little thing I like to collect. Conqueror has always been sort of a fun label for me. They're not particularly rare or anything, but it does have a sort of a mandolin and guitar, so sort of a nerdy thing I like to do. Unfortunately, this one does have a laminate, sort of a laminate crack right here, so that's something you got to look out for when you're looking at 78s. We did find 2 Red Kings, which is good. So these lower 500 Kings, these are the earliest Kings that you can find. Kings started at 500. If you can find the Sacred 501 King, that's always the best King that you can find. There's only like 1 or 2 of them in existence. But in the meantime, you can always entertain yourselves with the 502 and beyond. So we've got the Hank Penny 540, Get Yourself a Redhead, which is always fun. And on the other side, you've got Missouri. This is a great disc, and it's also in pretty good shape. I don't know much about this one. I normally don't go for the red Columbias because they're just too common for really my collection. But this is it said blues singer. I don't know much about Bill Crosby. I probably should, so I'm going to give it a chance. This one looked interesting. I don't know much about this one either. I have had a couple Heralds in the past. They tend not to be very impressive for me. I don't really enjoy them that much, but I've never heard of the Turbans, so I'm going to give it a chance. Okay. Well, if it's a doo-wop, then I'll probably like it. This is a 1283 King. I collect anything King, so again, I was excited to see this one. It's not a 500 to a 700, but that's okay. Donna Reno and Red Smiley is always good. And then anything with sort of a rag in it, I like to pick up. It's a London, so again, it's pretty common, but I do like the London sleeve that I found with it. Again, when you're looking at 78s, anytime you find a sleeve that is very nice and crisp like this, it's always good to pick up. It's really good to find that, especially when you get a good early London sleeve like this. So that's what we found today in the 78 department. We also found a flexi disc, which isn't, I don't really know a lot about this, but it's a 75 melodic banjo. So this might be interesting to play around with later. So that's what
So I mentioned that we went to a flea market earlier, and we didn't get much, but I did find a few things. So I wanted to show you that. Got the Every Which Way But Loose soundtrack. I'm just a nerd for soundtracks. They're good. Any Which Way You Can. Metal band Riot. I haven't found any of their stuff until this one. The best find probably is Runaways. It's not the greatest Runaways record, and it's not in the greatest condition, but it's the only one I've ever found besides Queens of Noise, so good find. And then I also have the bluegrass record that I referred to earlier. Is this traditional bluegrass record? It's on King Bluegrass, which is kind of a local label. I don't know if I'll hold on to it. Not the biggest bluegrass fan in the world, but still pretty cool find for 50 cents.